Big man, what's going on?
What's up? How's your evening?
Pretty fucking good, and it's a lot better now that I'm hearing that sultry voice. What are you up to?
Oh, well, the tears are already coming out of my eyes. Well, I had a full day of chess, some PogChamps commentary, tons of stuff, and could not think of a better way to round it off. In my devious, evil mind, I had designed or thought of an activity that I think might be interesting, something new that we might do among other things today. So I'll save that as a surprise and explain that later. One thing that I
love surprises.
Well, I don't know if you'll love this one because it involves playing fast, and I know that's not something that you enjoy greatly. So, one thing that I wanted to do independently of that is actually play another odds game and work a little bit more on your technique.
Okay, yeah, I'm down for whatever, man.
But why don't we jump in the pool first for like a warm-up game or two?
Okay, I'm gonna take a quick tinkle. I played an absolutely monstrous game earlier, though. I haven't played much chess since our last lesson, but today I made a dude show me his asshole. Like, I went nuts, so you should pull up my last game.
I need to look at that, yeah.
You're gonna...
last game.
Yeah, you might want to make sure your stream's not on right now, because you will probably cream yourself. It is nuts what I did to that poor man.
I'll go on starting soon. If you go into live chess before you take a piss, I'll be able to look at it. Because I can find you and then look at
Yeah, there you go. I'm in. You should find it now.
When you come back, I might have to come to the bathroom to clean up, so just warning you. Okay.
Sounds good,
I'm
man.
excited for this.
All right. Give me 2 seconds. I'll be right back.
Take your as long as you need. Okay. So this is very, very promising. I like to hear that kind of excitement. So let's see. So it's a Philidor. Knight c3. Oh, he could have made legals, mate. He could have done legals, mate. He could have done legals. Okay, we gotta talk about this. Charlie could have done legals, mate. This is legals, mate. Now, I'm gonna have a little surprise for him when he's back. Okay, so he goes here. Oh, knight b6. Now, this is some improvement if I've ever seen a knight b6. Jeez, Ryan, you could beat him with definitely more than knight outs. Don't underestimate yourself. This is disgusting. Knight b6 is called improvement. Oh, my land. I mean, this guy had no chance. If Charlie played every game like that, he'd be like 1,300. Okay? So what we're going to do today, I think you guys will enjoy this activity, and so will, well, don't think Charlie will enjoy it, is to work very specifically on his speed and confidence. He has to get faster, regardless of everything else. That's one of the key priorities. And I will admit to you guys that I thought for a very long time about how to actually work on that other than to make him play blitz, and I think I have an interesting method that involves me. So, you know, keep an open mind, folks. Keep an open mind, folks. I'll explain what that method will entail. That is a crazy game. He's come very far. Knight b6. It's the only correct discovery because knight c7 check. It's the only correct discovery. This move is not correct because queen takes simultaneously guarding the pawn. Simultaneously guarding the pawn. So knight b6 is the only correct discovery. This might be one of his best moves, other than that move he played a couple of lessons ago. Okay. So I'm proud, but legals, mate. But legals, mate. He's got to know about legals, mate.
All right, I'm back, you pussy. You talking shit?
Whoa, 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 whoa. You watch your freaking mouth now. Now, I have news for you. I'm going to give you an A- for this game. And there's only one reason I'm not giving you an A+. The move knight b6, that was the closest I came to having to change from shorts to jeans. Can I invite you to an analysis board really quickly? Because I have to show you this.
Yeah. Well, I also want my stream to see this, because I went straight primal on this poor guy.
Now, I want to, as I invite you to the analysis board, everything other than what I'm about to show you was perfect. The move knight b6, move 7, the only move that wins on the spot. There was a guy in the 18th century, French guy, played chess. You know, never spent a day in jail because his last name was Legal. I believe it's pronounced Legal. Well, I have no idea how it's pronounced. And I want you to just keep this guy in your mind. He was a very dashing gentleman.
I know him from the trap that I used to like to run, the Legals trap.
The Legals trap, huh? Well, let me tell you something about the Legals trap. Because in this position, you could have freaking Legals trapped, and that's the one that... And I want you to tell me how.
Oh.
And I'm actually... Like, just the fact that it existed is pretty darn cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the same setup as always, right? I'm taking here, he's taking here, and then that's immediately game. Then we come here, he only has this, and that's game.
Exactly. Takes, and if he takes the knight, then what do you do?
Then I'm taking the bishop.
Right. So he probably wouldn't have fell into the mate. But the move that is freaking amazing, and okay, the one piece of praise I'm gonna, the one praise per lesson. Everyone should know knight b6, freaking only move that wins the game. And I like that you didn't put it on c7 because the queen captures simultaneously. But you have to distract the queen. And everything else you did was, I mean, just vacuumed up literally freaking every piece.
Show that in slow motion right here. This is one of those real lovely games. I was so proud of this one.
I mean, this is like you did your freaking breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So you take here, takes the bishop. Now, you don't take the knight, right? That would be tempting. But much better is what you did to take the pawn, forking the king and the rook. Queen takes h8, and to add insult to injury, he can't even move his freaking knight because his rook is spent.
That's right, baby.
When it rains, it pours. That guy was having a freaking... And d3, patient. Not taking the knight, because then he takes the pawn with check, causing unpleasantness to your king. So, and now you take the knight, not forgetting about development, and then spotting the fork. I mean, damn. Pretty darn solid. Pretty darn solid.
I thought you'd like that one. That game right there, I was playing out of my fucking mind.
I do. And I think that after what we do today, which is to build up that speed and confidence, I think you're capable of playing more of these games. So I don't like to use the word proud because a Russian coach is not supposed to say that.
Right.
But that's pretty darn good. So you did make me happy. I was having a good day, but now I'm having a better day. So now let's reproduce that in the pool.
All right, let's hop in there. I'm ready to just go wild again.
Oh, you're gonna fucking... You're just gonna... Okay.
I immediately misclicked by accident,
right.
But we'll be okay.
Oh, d6, I actually play that move. That's called the perk defense. Or Pirtz. There is a name for everything under Gods of Blue Sky in chess. As crappy as it might be.
So how does this line go? Do you now play e5 on the next one?
Well, you prepare it. You prepare the move e5, and all of your development from this point on should be geared toward preparing the push of the e-pawn, right? You can't play e5 immediately. He's got 3 defenders on the square. You've got 2 attackers. So think about your dark squared bishop. Where can you develop it such that it's conducive to preparing?
Fianchettoing it.
Yeah. And yeah, this is essentially a version of sort of the King's Indian defense, which I've played my whole life. Very nice. Okay. So he's playing the London system. Can you play e5 here?
Let's see. I have... I come out on top of this, right? I push, he
3 on
takes,
3,
I take.
exactly, you can do it. Now, he's probably going to move his bishop back to g3, would be my guess. Well, actually, no. He takes first, okay?
Okay, so I take back with pawn.
Yeah. Now, this knight on g8, you want to be careful about where you develop it. You do not want to intercept your bishop's control over your e5 pawn. So you want to put it on a square so that it doesn't impede the control of that pawn.
Yeah, so I'm just going e7, right?
Exactly. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, this type of opening, unbalances the position. Okay, bishop e5. Now, is he actually threatening to take the knight on c6? Is that something you have to reckon annoying? Is that something annoying?
Yeah.
Are you sure? But look at your knight on e7. Part of the benefit of connecting your knights like that is that one can replace the other.
Is that I take it back?
So,
I see.
In reality, you don't actually have to do anything special. You can just continue developing.
Okay, so should I just castle then?
Yeah,
and just keep
definitely
going?
Get out of the pin, right. Whoa.
Well, that doesn't really work, right? So in this position, is it better to take with the bishop or the knight here?
Well, which piece would you rather keep on the board? Think about your bishop. Is it important to the safety of your king now that you fianchettoed it?
Yes.
Yes. So you want to take with the knight. When you fianchetto the bishop, the drawback of a fianchetto is that you weaken the squares around the fianchetto, which means that trading that bishop, all things held, would still be winning, of course, but you want to develop an emotional attachment to that bishop as I have.
Oh, of course.
I've definitely shed some tears when it's been lost before. Okay. So I want to see how you convert an advantage. What comes to mind?
Well, there's G4 for my lights tile bishop, but it's kind of worthless. He just pushes up a pawn anyway. It's not the greatest, so I don't think that would be worth doing.
So where would you rather put it?
I was looking at F5 and maybe cutting off a long castle if he chooses to do that.
That's fine. Yeah. Reasonable move. Not the best thing you can do, but it is fine. And after the game, we'll talk about... This is actually a pretty instructive moment.
Okay.
When you're up a piece, there's many things you can do. Okay. So now you have to sort of try to perceive what the holes are in his position. What are the weak squares that you can maneuver your pieces to, or even put the pieces on immediately?
So I was looking at D3 for my knight, which delivers a check, and he'd have to move the king, so he loses his castling rights.
And if he takes that knight with a bishop, what piece is the bishop replace? What piece replaces the knight?
I want to replace it with the queen, don't I?
Exactly, stopping him from castling, and that's just going to be devastating. Notice that you do potentially lose your C7 pawn, but this is the kind of position where nobody gives two flying shits about pawns. I mean, you're going for the... Remember, I told... Okay, exactly. So, I told you a while ago there's two ways to convert an advantage. Going for mate or simplifying. You've chosen the first. And in order to go for mate, you need to look very closely at how you can use the avenues available to you in order to just infiltrate. So you have a very good devastating move here.
I was looking at bringing a rook to D8 and then just punching in like that, but I don't think that's probably going to be the best move.
Right idea, but not the best execution. Look at his queen on B7. You can punch the rook in, as you say, by force and onto a much more effective square.
B2, so I put it on B8.
Exactly, yep. And he can take on C7, he can take his shirt off. I mean, it doesn't matter. You're taking on B2 and checkmating him. Yeah. And he can't even move his queen away to try to trade queens. He has to either give up his queen or allow rook takes B2. So you see how effective these unbalancing openings can actually be, because people just aren't familiar with the types of positions that arise.
Yeah, no, and this guy definitely sucked a fat dick a little early. He just didn't. He just couldn't keep up with the intensity, man.
It's the Indian defenses. That's what the defenses where you play G6, the openings that you fianchetto your bishop early like this against D4. King's Indian defense, old Indian defense. I've literally played them my whole life. They're really awesome. So don't shit talk. Whatever you trash talk, me, Grandmaster title, okay, you don't touch the King's Indian or I'm hanging up.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind.
I know you were planning to do that. So.
Well, I mean, you know me. I love to shit all over King's Indian.
You woke up this morning, you were like, damn, this King's Indian. Oh, man, this is just a pleasure. Look at your pieces. Every piece, the queen, the rook, and he's probably going to defend the knight with his rook if I know Lego Rooster. It's either that or he resigns. I think he's going to do that. And when you're attacking like this, it's all about bringing pieces into the attack. Okay, so you need to look at literally each one of your pieces. Ask yourself, can you bring it into the attack? And if there are multiple pieces you can bring to the attack, which one is most effective? So what comes to mind?
The one I looked at immediately that at least gets in there with some tempo was bringing the bishop to take on C3.
Exactly. That's the most accurate. So really the only instructive moment here where I have really anything to say is, and we'll look at that, is move 10, bishop f5. So, wow. Now, this technique was good. The question is, are you going to beat me with queen outs this time? How are you feeling about that?
I'm feeling good. Last time we had a lesson, I beat you on a puzzle. I beat you to finishing a puzzle. I had a good checkmating idea you didn't see. I don't know. I might just be better than the great Daniel Naroditsky.
I believe. It's funny because yesterday I was doing a lesson with Hafu, who was a streamer in PogChamps too, and we were doing a couple puzzles, and she wanted to do sort of like a GM level puzzle, you know, like a puzzle in the 2700 rating category. And actually, I got it wrong, and I think I was like, everybody was shocked. But when they're hard, you know, there are puzzles that I do on a regular basis that are challenging for me.
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the point of puzzles, right?
Exactly. It has to be right at the limit. Okay, I think this guy is reconsidering some of his life choices. I don't know.
Yeah, this has been pretty rough, man.
So the exercise that we are going to do, and obviously pending your agreement, I'm not forcing you into it. Let me kind of, while he's thinking, let me explain what it will be. So I didn't want you just to play sort of bullet, right? 1 minute chess. Like I could do that, but I wanted to make it sort of more constructive than that. Although at some point, if you really are serious about getting faster, that is a good idea, believe it or not. That's like the best prescription in the world. Play some bullet.
Yeah, unfortunately, I imagine.
But what we're going to do is we are going to play a version of odds games, you against me, where you basically have 1 minute at the start of the game and we can adjust as necessary to win a position, but you have basically a queen and 2 rooks extra. So you have an overwhelming material advantage, but the catch is you have only a minute to win. And because I can't challenge you from a position, that's going to be logistically a little tough, but I've found a way to do it. So what that's going to do is it's going to give you a position you should be able to win and literally force you to do it really fast and follow your instinct.
Sounds great to me, man.
Maybe I overhyped it. Your chat is like, who the hell is this guy? What is this exercise? But I actually think it's going to be instructive.
I believe it. I believe it.
So, okay, this guy is like deep in the tank right now. I did have one game many years ago, and I was mating the guy, right? And he was an adult. The position on the board was mate in 1. And he gets up from the board on his move. Now, in chess tournaments, you are allowed to get up from the board, right? You can go to the bathroom. You don't have people peeing in their pants, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
So, which surprises people, but I'm like, yes, they are humane. But I was playing this guy and checkmating him. Okay, first order of business, find the fastest checkmate.
Yeah, I'm taking knight d2 with bishop, delivered check, right?
Yeah. He takes with a rook, and then you have many ways to mate him.
Yes, and I'm taking back with queen.
Nicely done. That's what 1,000 looks like. That's what we do to them.
This was a pretty casual one, and then bang.
Yep, absolutely. So, as I'm inviting you to an analysis board, it was 1 move away from checkmate. He gets up from the board on his move as his clock is ticking, and he's got 40 minutes left. And he goes away from the playing hall. I'm like, what the hell is this guy doing? Comes back 30 minutes later with like a Five Guys burger and fries in his hand. And as like a 12-year-old, I wasn't like the most confrontational, but I was like, this guy literally stalls for 30 minutes on a position with checkmate on the board, waste my time. Like, all right, not cool. But
so is that not illegal? They didn't like scold him or anything? The man just went up and got some lunch?
It's his time. If he wants to freaking go to a nightclub or he wants to travel to Europe during his clock, he can do whatever the hell he wants during his clock. He can think about whatever the hell he wants. But it's just funny the lengths that some people will come to. So anyways, I have all sorts of stories about behavior at the chessboard. You will be surprised what chess players like think of to piss their opponents off.
Are they secretly like degenerates? Like, is there like a crime ring or something? Some kind of secret underground society of chess degenerates or anything?
Right, who think of progressively more, nefarious ways of fucking with their opponents.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might actually exist, and I may or may not be a part of it. So really, the only thing. So this development makes sense. Knight e7.
Yeah.
Could you tell me one thing? Let's imagine in the future you castle. Do you see a potential future for this knight on e7? Where could it go, and what could it accomplish on that square?
Well, I like to keep the knights towards the middle of the board since that's what you taught me. At d5, we can get a nice attack going. At least he's going towards kingside, and with where my bishop is and where my other knight is, we could hopefully look to get something kind of deep over there on the weak pawn side.
Perhaps knight to d5. The only issue with that move is that the knight is basically undefended, right? It's only protected by the queen, which makes the knight a little bit loose and perhaps subject to moves such as c4. And this is an idea you're not too familiar with, so I'll sort of tell you. The knight could also come to f5 and actually take this bishop on g3. And how do I see this? I ask myself, which pieces do I want to trade? And why do I want to trade them, right? this bishop on g3 is annoying the hell out of me because it's pressuring the e5 pawn, and that's... I want more freedom in my position. I don't want to keep being saddled by this. So I could take the knight with my bishop, but the board is relatively open, so I want to keep my bishops. But this knight could actually take the bishop on g3 and also ruin the pawn structure around white's kingside. So that would be kind of a potential idea. Does that sort of make sense?
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So one thing you want to try to sort of do regularly, especially in an unfamiliar position to kind of anchor yourself, is ask yourself, what pieces do I want to trade, and how can I accomplish that, and then what pieces do I want to keep on the board and not trade under any circumstances. For example, that would be this bishop.
Right, okay.
So just another tool in your toolkit. Do you want to hop in for another one?
Sure, yeah, I'll do one more.
Let's do it. You're on a roll. Jesus. These aren't even close. C4, that is the English defense.
It's just normal development though, right?
Yes. Yep.
I don't need to... Okay.
There are different moves here, but normal development works. And this is a great... Okay, A3.
So... There's no reason to go d4 now, right? Even though it's there, I don't really want it right now, do I? Or, yeah, no.
Well, you do.
Knight d4.
Oh, knight d4, right? He's just going to chase that knight away with e3.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah, so there's no reason for that right now.
He's moving a bunch of his pawns, and when you have a lead in development, remember that you should open up the center if possible in order to be able to explain. How can you rip open the center here?
Yeah, I'm pushing pawn d5.
Exactly. And of course, that's possible to defenders on the d5 square.
Yeah.
So this is, in effect, a reverse Sicilian. Sicilian is when white plays e4, black plays c5. So he's like... Okay, whoa, Jesus. Now, he continues to screw around, so you need to take it to him.
Yeah, I just take this pawn, right? I'm just taking c4.
You could, and open up the position, but actually, I would do something even more ambitious, right? In addition to taking the pawn, you could just start chasing his pieces away and make more of a claim in the center.
Okay, so just push the pawn to d4.
Yeah, and then his knight has no good squares, and you could even take that even further. Now, you might be like, but why are we closing the center when I just said to open it? It's obviously not black and... Well, no pun intended. It's not black and white, and you can actually open up the center again using your other center pawn. What do I mean?
Just pushing that up at e4.
Yeah, and you see how... Okay, so he goes knight e4. What comes to mind?
Just taking, which, I mean, that helps open up the board, right?
Sure. And now you can actually open up the board even further with a move that you like to play. This is a move I think you think about sometimes in your sleepless nights. The center isn't quite enough, open enough. That pawn on e4 is holding, keeping things a little bit shut.
But I can't attack. Well, I mean, I can attack it by pushing pawn f5.
That's exactly what you should do. What seems to be the... Are you hesitant about this move for some reason?
I don't know. I guess it just didn't appeal to me.
Opening up your king?
Yeah, it's just... I don't know. I haven't castled long in a long time.
Everything I teach you is basically just... But you're not necessarily going to castle long. You can absolutely castle short. And the fact of the matter is... maybe what worries you is, you've pushed up a pawn in front of the king and castling short seems risky. Guess what? Look at his development. He's really developed very actively. I mean, he is just basically crushing you. So he won't be able to exploit the weakness of your king side. Okay, so he's got e3. This is a very instructive moment. Do we take the pawn?
No.
Definitely not. We don't want to trade the queens. Very good.
Right. So
we want to keep the tension.
Yeah, so
how do we do that?
Yeah, what I was looking at is bringing bishop c5.
So bishop c5 would have been good had he not had the move b4, attacking that bishop, forcing that. So this is one of those cases you have two options. You can either do prophylaxis and prevent b4 and then develop the bishop to c5, or you could just develop the bishop to a slightly less active square, but nonetheless a decent one. So can you find a move that follows one of these methods?
Yeah, so just pushing pawn a5.
Bingo.
Take
That is a very typical move in these positions. Preparing bishop c5.
The second you said prophylactis, I immediately knew
You
what
just,
it meant.
well, first you had to change pants, and then you, so yeah. Well, that would, most GMs are kind of a low-key obsession with prophylaxis.
Oh, I imagine. It's a lovely thing.
It really is. You have no idea. It's what people live for. Okay, so
In this position, is it best to fall back?
Well, he's given you a great opportunity to expand your claim in the center by playing bishop d3.
Okay. He takes with queen. And
Actually,
then...
you have a really, really sexy move here. Really sexy. And let me guide you to it, okay? Here's the thing. He is so undeveloped that in a position like this, you have to smell that there might be tactics, okay? And what does that mean? That means you need to look for checks, captures, and threats, and you still need to look for ways to open the center, even if it seems like a blunder. So what move am I talking about? What move do you have to consider?
A move that looks like a blunder would be taking his pawn on e3.
Now, why does it look like a blunder?
Because I give up a bishop for free.
But look at that position very, very carefully. You see the tension between the queens.
Yeah.
You see your pawn on e3. What can you do to combine that? His queen is defended only by the tenuously defended by the king. So putting that together yields what move?
This is after I take on e3,
Take
right?
e3, take f5. Before I allow you to do it, I want you to find the move in that position. That pawn on e3 is the hint. That's the huge asset you have. You can use it.
If that bishop wasn't there, I mean, the obvious thing would just be pushing queen to d2, protected by pawn.
Right, but, okay, so here's the thing. His king defends his queen, right?
Right.
Can you distract his king from the protection of the queen?
I just take again. It's a check.
Exactly. That's all there is to it. Mm-hmm.
I see.
Yeah.
That's a little innocent pawn check I didn't even think of.
And that is actually a kind of thematic trap, distracting the king from its protection of the queen. How do I find these kinds of things? Like I said, when you have such a lead in development and such a superior center, you just have to look for all types of sacrifices and ways to open up the center, even if it seems not to work. You don't want to rule anything out.
Right, I get you. Okay, that makes sense.
So, I think I just... Oh, okay, we're good. Yeah, so he's... And what happens if he takes the pawn on e3?
Then I take the queen. It's free.
No, I mean in this position if he takes your pawn, not your bishop.
Then I'm taking his bishop. Bishop's protected by queen.
Exactly. So, yeah, he can... Probably the lesser evil is to like drop his bishop back to e2, but then you get like a raging attack on his king. Wow. There is something like 50 times sexier than this that I'm just going to show you after the game. I don't think it's actually going to happen, but okay, it actually might. But so continue. Now he's going to push his king up to e2, and there, you want to find the fastest path to victory. Now start thinking about it. What can you do after king e2?
Then I deliver another check at d4. I win bishop back.
Good, but far from the best. Look at your pawn on f2. Remember, these positions, what three types of moves do you start with? Checks, captures, threats. All of them. So list the captures and consider them.
I take queen. He takes my queen.
Look at that position.
He takes my queen with his king. Then I get a queen promotion on pawn.
Bingo. And as if insult wasn't, as if, and to add insult to injury, you win the bishop too. Now you had an absolutely beautiful move in that position as an alternative. That wasn't as good, but I'll show you that after the game. Okay. Perfect. So we get like a queen odds game, basically, and I want you to win this smoothly.
Okay.
And my one sort of advice is to just go after him. Just like you did in that game. Don't, just frickin' grab the bull by the horns and fuck him up.
Yeah, I'm going to do pretty much the exact same attack path here that I did last time. I'm looking
forward to it. Yeah, you're just going to basically take everything.
Yeah, I'm not even going to risk it.
You cannot go too wrong with that, yeah. But does that whole combination kind of make... Okay, well, he's... Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's really he's struggling right now.
He's exploiting, utilizing all the defensive resources at his disposal. Ooh.
I deliver a check. D3. He pushes up to B2.
Remember the key concepts of attack: involving more pieces when you don't quite see checkmate.
Yeah. So I'm looking at bringing my knight to D4, but I don't know if I should do the check first or bringing my knight in.
Well, you want to do whatever's most restrictive, like whatever. It actually doesn't matter. Like it's one of those things, we talked about this. When you're this winning, you shouldn't spend time. You should just do what feels right, what your intuition says, and the marginal differences between the moves just aren't important. If that makes sense.
Okay.
I think they're actually equivalently good, basically. I like Queen D3 check first.
Oh, wait. He just checkmated himself, didn't he? I have a checkmate at C2.
You have a beautiful checkmate. Do it. Queen C2. Yeah. But it's not checkmate yet. Because
well,
you can cover with this bishop.
No way of, yeah, there's no way of stopping it, though. Once I...
Wait, you have a checkmate in 2 moves. That's really cool, and I want you to find it. It's mate in 2. Forced.
Yeah, it's the one I'm looking at, right? So I'm going knight B4.
Damn, okay, great. Yeah. You saw it immediately. Amazing.
Yeah. Then
it can be hard to spot because that rook on A8 seems to be like a dormant volcano. Like, what is it doing? Discover, check, and mate. Okay, so quickly to an analysis board. Well done. Okay. United. All right. So here. So D5, the rationale behind this makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So DC kind of relinquishes the pressure on his position, although it does open up the center. And I don't know if I'm making sense here, but D4 is just far more problematic for him. One thing that you could have also done is just to keep developing. We talked about this, the notion of just keeping the tension. So Bishop C5, for example, would be good. And you might be like, but didn't you say this is bad because of B4? Well, in this position, the bishop has an additional square that it did not have in the position you wanted to play bishop. So what am I talking about?
D4.
1 second. Yeah, so D4 is exactly right, pinning his knight. Okay, so D4 you play, knight E4 you took, F5, blasting open the center, and I get your reservations about this move, but sometimes good moves are going to have drawbacks. You know, that's part of what chess is realizing that the benefits outweigh the drawbacks. And yes, this weakens your king slightly, but that's why a lead in development is so powerful. The person with a lead in development can basically take all these liberties, and the opponent can't punish him. So here, A5, perfect, bishop D3. The other move you could have played here, and I want you to find it, is basically a way to keep the fire churning and drive more of a wedge into the center. So I don't know how to describe this move. I just kind of want you to find it. Anything coming to mind?
Nothing I see really opens up the center very much.
It doesn't open up the center. It uses your central superiority and like drives it further into his grill.
Oh, well then yeah, just pushing E4.
Bingo. And not only do you push E4, that might not seem so intimidating, but how do you continue?
I'm just pushing again to D3.
I mean, look at this frickin' pawn. Look at his knight. He cannot develop at all. And then you're just going to involve your queen in the attack and just crash through, essentially. So this is the kind of activity that when you get more comfortable handling the center, you know, these moves start coming to. Now takes, and another question. If your king in this position, and let's actually just do this, would this combination work in this position? Why or why not?
Does he move his king up on his side right now? He's in check.
He's in check, white to play, and I want you to tell me if black is still winning. And the way, of course, to do this is to think about what has changed as a consequence of the king's displacement to e7.
Ah, I see. If he brings his bishop, my king and queen are on the same diagonal. He'd win the queen, right?
Right, but he's in check right now, right? So is that... Well, you're almost right. You have the right idea, but the thing is he's either going to lose his queen or you're going to make a new one. And
right.
I think the reason you have a bit of difficulty in these positions is actually something you could fix. You try to sort of come up, and again, I hate to put words in your mouth, but it seems to me that you're trying to sort of think your way into the solution, and sometimes you just need to plunge in and get your hands dirty. And just literally start looking at moves, okay? Checks, captures, threats. First you look at the capture, and you play these moves in your mind, and when you visualize the resulting position, it can be easier to find the move. Rather than trying to kind of understand the logic through which you can automatically find the solution without looking at anything.
Do you want playing white for this right here, or
yes,
black?
Yeah. White to play, and your task is to figure out whether or not black wins the game here, or wins a queen.
Okay, because I had it on black the whole time, and I was wondering what the fuck changed.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't make it clear.
Okay, no, it's all good, man. Okay.
Yeah. So my question is, by placing the king on e7 instead of e8, are we actually changing anything?
For white's position, that doesn't look like anything changes here. There's really not a whole lot to do. If I take pawn, he takes queen.
But look at this position very carefully.
I deliver the check with
Bingo.
the bishop, then I take with rook. I see.
Exactly. So the smallest detail, and this is just an important thing to look for all the time, the discoveries, the tension, everything, even stuff that you feel like cannot possibly work, you have to actually go through the process of looking at it, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, but of course, why would the king end up on e7 in that position? It wouldn't, just trying to sort of, show you how fragile everything can be. Now, this is the one position I wanted to mention. Had this not existed, you actually had a really, really cool move. And the way I'll introduce it to you, you've done this once before. Here's the sort of strategy, right? What we want to do is take the knight, and then we want to fork the bishop with knight d4 followed by knight takes f5. What's the problem, though, with taking and making a queen? Why is this actually fails? Why?
Because it doesn't put the king in check.
It doesn't put the king in check, which means that white has time for an intermediate move of what kind? Actually, it does sort of work, but nonetheless, what intermediate move does white have? Like, he can do something first, and then he can take the queen.
Is it trading queens? Do we trade the queens? Yeah.
So he can trade queens and then take on Jua. Now, I actually just realized that black can still win the bishop, but you have a really cool move to do the same thing, but actually delivering a check while you're at it. So what am I talking about here?
Under promoting.
Bingo. So you can make a knight check and then go knight d4 check and keep the queens on the board. Just a little detail to show. I think you have had like more under promotions in like a couple months than I have had in my entire life. Just putting it out there.
Yeah, I can tell you I've done it 0 times.
It's exceedingly rare. So believe it or not, there are even cases where you have to promote to a bishop and that's the only win. Like all sorts of things exist.